La creatividad es algo muy importante en la fotografía y es algo que me apasiona muchísimo. Así que hoy tengo de invitado a Joel Grimes, que es un fotógrafo súper talentoso y nos compartirá cómo a lo largo de su trayectoria ha logrado dominar este tema. So today we're here with Joel Grimes. He's an amazing photographer and we're going to be asking him some questions about creativity because I do a lot of that part and I love it in photography and he has it very well developed. So I'm going to ask him a little bit of questions about it. So how are you feeling here? How has your trip to Guadalajara been, getting to know tequila, all the photos that you've been doing?
Well, it's been well, it's all about experience. In the early days, you know, you go and I speak and that was fun. But now, if I can tie in being able to come and speak and encourage, but also go out and get some pictures, that's really making it worthwhile.
I think that's amazing in photography. Like, getting an experience and photographing it is like a very nice compliment. And getting to travel and photograph all around the world, that's something that I'm very looking forward to do.
It's like a ticket to the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, well, you carry a lot of equipment, but sometimes it's not even necessary. Like, you can even go with your camera and that's it. Like, you can travel anywhere, and our work method is just, it's small. At least if you want to add a big backpack, I guess you...
Well, you notice that watching me, I can do pretty much everything with one light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it all depends how much we want to add equipment to it, but like the good part about it is that really we only need one camera and one lens.
Exactly.
So that's nice. That's nice.
Agree.
Just having like one little thing and being able to travel.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm glad that you've been having a good experience here.
Good.
In Mexico, in Guadalajara.
That's
We're
great.
very excited to see your photos. I'm sure like in this video we'll put some photos if that's okay with you, so people can see your work. All right. So my first question for you is, what do you think makes a good photography?
Well, I think that there's, as I have said before, there's a blending of two worlds. You have the technical process, which you have to have some kind of understanding of capturing an image, you know, the technical part. Then there's the creative part, right? Which is really, in the end, the driving force. But you have to start somewhere, right? So most of us start getting the technical down, and then once we kind of get that, then we move on. So I always say, do you want to take a boring picture? No, we want an exciting picture, dramatic picture. So you have to learn. So to me, the hardest part was getting the creative. I thought maybe that I wasn't smart enough, or that the creative process was limited to a select group of people.
Okay.
Kind of like if you're a musician and you have a really good ear and you have a great voice, you can go down and write a song very easily.
Right.
But I think most musicians, if you talk to some of the best, what we call the best singer-songwriters ever, they'll tell you they labored over their songs. Some songs came quickly, but most of them they labored. You know, they take a notebook and they jot ideas down, then they put it together later. Some songs take 2-3 years to write.
Right, it's a process.
It is. So I think the photography is this idea that you have to go out and you have to keep practicing and keep honing your craft, the technical side, but really, what is the end result? What is it that you want to hang on the wall, your wall, or someone else hangs it on their
wall. Yeah, that must be a really nice feeling, getting your photo in somebody else's wall.
Oh, beautiful.
That would be. So do you think creativity is something that someone can develop?
Absolutely. I think that we could say that there are some people that are born with the magic touch to some degree, right? They just have the ability but I think it's developed. I think that if it's not developed, then most of us are in trouble.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So if it's developed to some degree, then I want to know how to get there. And I want to learn how to teach others to get there.
True. Yeah, I think creativity is something that some people are born with, this natural talent, and they're just very creative, but I definitely think that it's something that people can develop and boost their creativity. So that leads me to my next question is, how do you think people can boost their creativity?
It really comes down to understanding, I think, the masters. So look back in history.
Okay.
Repeat. So what I do is I revisit the masters every 6 months to a year or whatever.
Okay.
I go back and look at them. Because what happens is when you look at the masters when you're 20, you have a limited perspective on things. Then you look at the masters when you're 30, it's going to be a different. You start
Right.
to see things in the masters that you didn't notice before.
Right.
At 40, 50. So you keep looking at the masters. That's one thing. I think the second part is you have to have a pretty clear vision on where you want to end up.
Yeah.
If it's too murky, then you're just like a dog chasing its
Yeah.
tail. So you have to say, I love this idea, this style, or whatever. Then you begin to develop the skills to go there. But as I said yesterday in my lecture, it comes down to repeating the process over and over.
Over and over
the
again.
person who repeats it the most ends up at the top.
Okay. And can you name 3 masters that's been very important in all of your career that you've been like studying?
Well,
or-
so I was a landscape photographer all through college,
Okay.
up to college. So Ansel Adams, of course. But during that time of studying photography, I was exposed to Irving Penn,
Okay.
the master portrait photographer. And so then I would see his work, but I didn't really understand, well, I didn't think I was going to be a portrait photographer. But still, somehow it kind of stuck in my brain. When I started photographing people, obviously that the memory of studying him would pop up.
Okay.
So Irving Penn was a big influence. Albert Watson, who's a more contemporary, not as he's still, I think he's in his 80s now.
Okay.
But looking at his work, so Irving Penn was also. They did commercial, they did editorial, like Vogue, the high-end fashion stuff, but they always pushed the artistic side of their
Yeah.
career. And so Albert Watson did the same thing. So they had images that were, yes, beautiful in the commercial sense,
Okay.
but their art side was gorgeous. And Richard Avedon did the book on the American West. Another incredible set of images, portrait images that have been influenced.
Right, okay. Very, very good photographers. So you were saying yesterday that it's very important to know where you're going, right? If not, you're just going this way and maybe you'll get to what you want, but it's going to take more time. Unless if
Exactly.
you're going like in a
Exactly.
straight line to what you want.
Yeah.
So you started photography, you were very young. Did you always knew where you were going?
No.
No.
No, so I had a love for the outdoors, the nature, the exploring, hiking, all those things, right? So that naturally led me to landscape. When I started working commercially, I had to make a living, right?
Right.
So I started doing architecture photography.
Yeah.
Then that opened the door, I started doing people, and then I fell in love with photographing people. The reason why I think I love photographing people is I think that each person is so unique and they have a character that needs to be somehow captured and revealed.
Through photography.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I love that challenge of getting a great image, a great portrait, whatever. And so that once I sort of established that, the one thing that I think helped me a lot was bringing strobes outdoors.
Okay.
Because at the time I was doing it, I say nobody, very few photographers.
Yes.
They were always studio strobed and then you go out in natural light. I started bringing strobes outdoors. And then all of a sudden I started getting these pictures that people were looking at going, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
So I started getting hired. And so it thrust me into, yes, a realm of creating some beautiful pictures, but also making a very good living. So once I sort of established that, then I was on track to being a portrait photographer.
Okay. You were kind of like building it and then you discovered what you wanted.
Yes.
So you were just mentioning that every person is unique in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do portraits, do you rather kind of like create a concept and do the photography around it? Or do you also try to capture like the essence of every person that you are photographing?
I am not the most organized person or detailed person.
Okay.
So I thrive on spontaneity, the moment at the moment of something happening, right? So I love the idea of turning a corner and there's a shot and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get this, right? And if but then at that moment I may get my lights and then control it.
Okay.
But I like the idea of found moments and found discoveries and sort of winging it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a combination of two things. When I prepare for a shoot, I am not very organized. I mean, in terms of like, I don't do research on my subject. Okay, it's a ballerina, you know, what are the positions that a ballerina gets into? You know, I don't think anything about that.
Okay.
I usually let the model or the subject dictate that.
Okay, okay. And when you are in the photo shoot, do you have any like connection with your models to have the model more confident, or actually like capturing what the personality of a person, or is it more like conceptual photos?
No, I think what I like to do is when I engage with someone, I want them to have this feeling that I'm working toward the best photograph that's ever been taken of them.
Okay.
And so that way that there's this idea that I am driven to perfection of getting this great photo. And so they see that drive, and then that makes them go, hey, I'm gonna sit here a little longer.
Yeah, like, you know, we'll get that picture together, right? Together.
Yes, yeah.
I always think that it's a teamwork with the photographer and the model. Like both of them, like both parts are very important to get a good photography or a good portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And my next question is, we already talked about what makes a good photography. What makes a good photographer?
I think it's someone that has to be able to take risks.
Okay.
You have to lay a path that is going to be full of adversities that you have to overcome, rejection, learn how to be rejected, take criticism. You have to be able to make sacrifices, because there's a lot of things. Gear, you have to supply the right gear to get to your end result of being a photographer. If you're making a living with your camera, that's not easy. So you have to be somewhat of an entrepreneur. You have to be driven. Like I said, goal-oriented. All those things I think are important. You can't be lazy.
Yeah.
And you can't expect it all to fall in your lap and just I'm gonna just be a photographer. People say, I want to be a photographer. Yeah, okay. Well, but they don't have the understanding of what that really takes. So you wear a lot of hats. When meaning that you're a marketer. One day you have to be the business person, negotiate. You have to go and be a producer.
Yeah.
You have to go out and find a scouting. So you wear a lot of different hats, but I think that's actually kind of fun. I think if I just did one thing, I think I'd be bored.
And we also develop a lot of skills being a photographer.
Oh,
we have to do so many things. Yeah. And we were just talking about organizing a photo shoot, like before it. Right. We have to scout a location, look for the styling. Like we have to do a lot of preparation for it before, right? Yeah. So we were talking about the creative process of it. So how would you say, if we have to be like step 1, 2, 3, 4, how is your creative process? How do you start that?
Well, I think that the creative process is developed over time when you develop your style.
Okay.
I can't do everything, right? I can't be the swing from the chandelier photographer, and I have a certain style that I developed. That puts me in a sort of approach that is going to, when the subject comes in, I now have those one light over top, cross light, maybe edge light. I'm not going to go and work too far outside of that. Yeah. So that's my driving force, is that I've now established I guess you'd say, it's the signature, the Joel Grimes look, and then I'm repeating that over and over again. Okay. So I'm not reinventing the wheel every time. No. If I had to, I'd go crazy.
Right. Through time, you've established, or you've defined very well your style, and it's something that when people look at your photos, you don't have to put like Joel's rhymes
Exactly.
on it. You don't have to put a watermark, right? Your signature is in your lighting, your composition, just like your photography is very yours, as mine is very mine,
Yes.
and every other photographer in the world. But how do you come up with this creative ideas? Like, how do you say, I'm going to do this photo shoot with this concept? How do you come up with that?
I think that sometimes you just drive down a road and you see something and you go, oh, I want to put that together. I'm going to get a bottle. I'm going to put that person. It's a lot of it's just a what's the word? You just get an idea and it just starts floating around and you think, I got to fulfill this somehow.
In what moments do you get that idea? Like, what are you doing when suddenly you get this creative?
Okay, so I've said this. People ask, what inspires you? I truly believe life does.
Life. What happens in life?
Life.
Yeah.
You meet someone, you know, and you go, wow, what an interesting person. I want to get that person in front of my lens.
Okay.
You know, it's, and then I think, well, what can we do? This person is a fencer,
Okay.
competes in whatever. Let's get you in your fencing outfit.
Yeah.
So that someone says, how did you get that fencer? Well, it just came together. It's not as planned, I guess, as what most people think. I'll give you an example. This is really funny.
Okay.
So I was shooting in studio the subjects, and then I would do the backgrounds.
Okay.
And then I would go and I would process the person that was in the studio, cut them out. Then I'd say, oh, I have to look for a background to put this person in. And so it just so happened that I had worked on a background, and it's on my desktop. And I'm like, okay, I need a background. Oh, this one. Oh, that's pretty good. Put it up. And then I'm before a bunch of people, and they say, you are a genius. The combination of subject and background is a perfect marriage. I'm laughing. I'm thinking, that was the first background I found on my desktop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, if people think it's so thought through,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily. Now, sometimes I do take and put someone in a background. I don't do a lot of composites now, and it goes, that doesn't work, next background, that doesn't work. It may take 10 backgrounds before I find one that really works. But most of the time, it's not as conceptually predetermined as what some people might think.
Okay. And sometimes you just need the courage to do it, see how it works out. Maybe first time you did it didn't work out. Fortunately, it did. I feel like maybe people overthink it and are waiting for the perfect moment and the perfect background, the perfect everything to just start doing. And I think that people or photographers that are as developed as you are nowadays, it's because all your career you've been actually taking action of it, and you've been trying and developing new lighting.
Yeah.
If nobody was taking out strokes to outdoors,
Right.
You were doing it. And we were just talking about this, getting out of the box, not following rules is what's going to make you different, and your photography is going to be different than what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, so I've always said this many times. I'm no creative genius, but I have a passion for the creative process.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between the two things. So when I wake up in the morning, I say, I want to do a beautiful photograph today. I have to think and say, what can I do? What is it that's interesting? And maybe I have to take a risk. What can I do that's maybe a little different than I've never done? I have to always be taking that risk. And then I have to say, if it's a bomb, it's a bomb. But if it's a bomb and I'm criticized, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't have to worry about what other people think and be driven by that. Doesn't mean I'm not human.
Of course.
And if someone does, if I get enough criticism and people say you're on the wrong track, I might readjust. But for the most part, I don't worry about it, and I just go out and create. I'll give you an example of, we were thinking about this idea that when I come and approach a subject, I have repeated the process of portraits. I would say, if not tens of thousands of times, I don't know what, in 40 years. I mean, a lot of portraits. So what happens is I'm bringing an experience of what didn't work in the past into that moment.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. I have a client. We go into a building. We're shooting maybe a corporate campaign.
Yeah.
And I walk into this building, And the lady says, where's a good angle? I go, they're shooting that way. She goes, are you sure? I go, yeah, there's no other angle because this is ugly over here. The sun coming from here. So I know from history that if I point my camera in this direction, it's going to be a terrible photograph.
Yeah.
So I immediately know the best spot because of years and years of mistakes.
Experience. And there's this, I don't know what to call it, but they say that if you take 10,000 photos, or 10,000 whatever, right? It's like the 10,000
hours.
Hours if you do it. And I think I heard it somewhere that if you take 10,000 photos, because of the practice and the experience of learning from your mistakes, then you'll just get better and better.
Yep.
And if you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it over and over again, there's no other way, there's no other choice. You'll just learn from your mistakes and get better at it. So,
time. So time, invest the time, repeat the process, have a goal, and then work very hard at it.
That's very important.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely experience is something very, very important. And not giving up, as you were saying yesterday. There's only plan A.
There's only plan A.
There's only plan A.
And there's a lot of people that are going to be on the journey with you that'll quit. So if you don't quit, you automatically get to up the ranks.
Yeah.
You get up the ranks by people quitting.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So don't quit.
So for people that are watching and that maybe someone is thinking about quitting, it is possible living from photography.
I always say a dad or mom comes up and says, my daughter or my son is interested in photography. Is it a good career choice? Could they make a living? And I say, absolutely.
Yes.
It is an incredible, you can make incredible living. However, only a small percentage of people do it.
Yeah.
But that's true with everything that's at the top. If you play the violin, and you want to be in a symphony, how many symphonies are there? Not very many, maybe one per city. And so to get into a level of playing in a symphony, you have to be pretty good, but again, it's possible. So I remember I said that thing yesterday where you drive down the road and you see a billboard and you go, oh, that's an incredible picture. I wish I had a picture or a billboard like that. And you have to ask yourself, well, someone did.
Yeah.
Why don't you find the path to get there?
Exactly. If someone else could do it,
That's right. You could do
I
it.
could do it. You
That's
could do
right.
it. Everyone can do it.
Exactly.
So for me, you're a big inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
Because I know that if you could do it,
That's right.
and I only have plan A, so I know that it is possible.
You say, with a guy like Joel, as dumb as he is, if he can make it, I can make it.
No, of course not. You're a big, big inspiration, and I'm very happy that we have a perspective about creativity being so important in photography.
Yes.
I feel like it's a kind of a controversial topic because some people think that photography is only like the technical part,
Right.
and if you're not doing all the technical stuff and you're leaving the creative by a side, then you're a very, very good photographer. But there's the other part that creativity it's I don't know, I think it's even more important.
I agree, 100%.
It's like a painter, right? You have the paint and you have the brushes, and that's gonna help you achieve what you want, what you have in your mind. But if you have the best brush and you don't have the creativity, you're not gonna have a good result. So I feel like it's the same in photography. You can have the best equipment, you can have the best technique, but if you don't have this other part, you're not gonna do any artistic photos. Like we were talking about, like photography, it's an art, and in art, there's no rules. Like you can play with the rules and just do whatever you want to do your art. And art is just very, very wide. There's no really definition for it.
Well, I have had people come up to me and they say, because I'm a Canon Explorer of Light, and they say, oh, I used to be with Canon, but I went and switched to this other brand. I said, oh, fine. And they go, oh yeah, well, and I say, show me a picture that you've produced with that camera.
Yeah.
No one ever showed me. They just have it hanging around their neck. Like, oh, I have this. It's like, well, show me a picture you've done with that, right? So it's not the camera. It's not, how many megapixels you have.
Right.
So I like lots of megapixels, but it's not. That's not the most important thing. So we get sidetracked on the lens. I love lenses, I love glass and all that, but that's just a small part of the process of what I have to deal with.
They're gonna help you achieve what you want. but it's not the main. Like the main is creativity.
Yep.
So yeah, creativity is just very, very important, and thank you so much for sharing this very important part of it. I'm glad that we can put this out and kind of talk about it. I feel like not a lot of photographers or creativity is not very talked about. So yeah, I'm just glad that we're like in the same page in that.
Well, very
so
good.
Thank you so much for your time,
thank you.
Your answering these questions.
Very good.
And we'll leave some photos that Joel has been taking here in Guadalajara. And we'll be happy to have you back sometime.
Oh, I love it. I might just move here.
Yeah, just move here. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.